The main concern is about the bolts. The NTSB is in its fourth day investigating how a door plug flew off an Alaska 737 MAX 9 flight taking off from Portland. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Marcella Lee. Now other airlines are finding loose equipment on their MAX planes. CBS 8's Abby Black spoke with an aviation expert who suspects shoddy work.
The NTSB is focusing its investigation on these bolts that were on a panel that flew off an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft. I spoke to a commercial pilot and flight instructor not related to this case, but he suspects it's a workmanship issue. NTSB says it's narrowing in on the 4 bolts that should have kept a door plug from flying off during an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 flight last Friday.
We have not yet recovered the 4 bolts that restrain it from its vertical movement, and we have not yet determined if they existed there.
Meaning investigators are trying to figure out if the bolts came off in the blowout.
There may not be anything wrong with the materials themselves. It might just be in the way it was all assembled.
We spoke to commercial pilot Robert Katz on the phone about the investigation. He suspects the bolts will probably never be found, but the door plug on the other side of the plane can give NTSB a better idea of what happened.
To determine if those bolts are of the proper quality and workmanship, and their installation was done correctly and they were torqued properly.
Since the FAA temporarily grounded all 737 MAX 9 planes, United Airlines is reporting during their inspection they found loose bolts in their door panel on their 737 MAX 9. And techs for Alaska Airlines reported seeing loose hardware on some of their grounded fleet as well. A week prior, the FAA announced that Boeing directed airlines to inspect 737 MAX planes for loose bolts after 2 commercial aircrafts reported missing bolts in their rudder control system.
And I'm beginning to think that the bolts that hold this plug in place were not tightened properly. If that's not being done, then that's obviously a weak link in the chain.
Some airlines, including Alaska and United, cover up the plugs because they're not needed for seat configuration. So a passenger on one of those flights would not know that they were sitting next to a door plug. And unlike sitting in an exit row, this is not knowledge that is given out. Simply, if you're walking to your seat and happen to be in this row, it will look like your average panel with a window. But from the outside, there's this outline of a door. Now, even if the recent issues are addressed, the 737 MAX is surrounded with concerns, and some ask if it will ever be safe to fly.
Well, what's next?
That's a very reasonable question to ask. But then again, the aircraft that are flying today are certainly superior to the aircraft that were flying 50 years ago.
Abby Black, CBS 8.